2023, is it time we bought a Christopher Ward watch? Well, today I'm going to answer that not just using one, not even two, but three. Let's get into it. Yes, and welcome to the Mad Watch Collector Show. Today is all about an independent brand called Christopher Ward. Now, this brand has been going since the early 2000s, and they made a bit of a name for themselves because they were the first watch brand to sort of cut out the middleman. They only exclusively sold their watches on their own website. That was the only place you could buy them. And you've got to say the model has obviously worked. Christopher Ward has become one of the powerhouses in the watch market, most notably for making watches that give you the most amount of specifications for the most amount of value. Recently, the brand has made a name for itself thinking outside of the box with their beautiful Bel Canto, the watch I reviewed at the start of the year. But at its core are well-made sports watches, predominantly under £1,000. Other key things to think about: Christopher Ward offers 60 days where you can try it, own it, and if you don't like it within those 60 days,
you can take it back.
Also, they offer a 60-month warranty, which is absolutely fantastic. That's a 5-year warranty on your watch. I would also go as far as to say that they are probably the most honest watch brand out there. They make a point on their website to tell you and I the watches they sell have no more than a markup of 3 times the cost of the production of the watch. It will never go above that. What other brand do you know that is that transparent? Anyway, 2 years ago, I reviewed the C6600, and since then, their dive watch line has absolutely exploded with different variations, different sizes, different dial colors.
It's gone crazy.
The only thing you've got to get past is the name, but they don't put that on the dial anymore. So in order for me to find out just how good a Christopher Ward dive watch is in 2023, I asked to see 3 different versions of a C6300 and definitively tell you whether I think a Christopher Ward is the perfect match for you. Let's find out just how good these watches really are. Oh, don't forget, you'll hear what my wife thinks of them as well at the end. Are you, Christopher Ward, ready? Let's go. So, ladies and gentlemen, here are the 3 watches. Firstly, the C60 Trident Pro 300. We've got the C60 Atoll 300. And we've got the C60 300 Pro Bronze. And to start with, you have to say these are very attractive watches. They are definitely not shrinking violets. They are tall watches, but tall watches that want to be seen, and for the wearer, be proud of wearing and showing them off. Christopher Ward has this patented light catcher case design, which I am a huge fan of. Big polished chamfers. The brushwork is done to perfection, and the transitions from brushing to polishing is faultless. The cases are very appealing to the eyeballs. Sort of reminds me of an Omega Seamaster 300, especially the blue one, which is the similar colours in my eyes, and that inner silver ring on the bezel of this one sure does remind me of an older reference Planet Ocean. Although these 3 watches have a completely different look to them, you can definitely tell they're related. These are dive watches. We do have a screw down crown at 3 o'clock, and the crowns are pretty much a perfect size. They're going to be nice and twistable. The crown guards are not too big and not too small, just very sleek. That's the word I'm giving these watches, a sleek look. An ultimate dress diving tool. The Atoll I am very attracted to, I must admit. And of course, in 2023, Christopher Ward offers you a bronze C60, still with that trademark light catching case. And you can tell that this watch has been about, as the patina is in full swing, especially on that signed crown. And also, I am a huge fan of matte ceramic used on bezel inserts these days. On first impressions, well, it's the Atoll 300 that gets my eyeballs attention the most, but the 3 watches sure do look handsome. Quick spec check! Let's start with the Trident Pro first, shall we? And this one you would say is probably the best fit for me, coming in at 38mm in the case diameter, 11.7mm thick, which is fantastic for a 300-meter water-resistant diver, just over 46mm lug to lug, and a strapaholic 20mm lug width. The Atoll, well, it is a 40mm diver, which did surprise me. It looks and feels like a 38 as well. Perhaps it's because of the strap. 11.3 3mm thickness and 47.4 lug to lug with a 20mm lug width. The Bronze Pro, well, that is a 42mm case, 11.7 thick, just over 49mm lug to lug and 22mm lug width. Now, it being on this beautiful leather strap, which is all distressed and goes so well with the distressed bronze look of the case, the watch doesn't actually look as big as if it would look on a bracelet. And I got a feeling I could pull this one off.
Providing I look quite far away, you know?
Now, all three watches are protected by a flat sapphire glass, front and back. Yes, we have a screw down case back, but it is exhibition. And you can see a signature Christopher Ward bi-directional rotor. This is the only place you will see Christopher Ward on the watch now. And I guess it's a little bit sad, isn't it? They finally succumbed to not having it on the dial, but I do reckon it's probably best for the business. Right, onto that bezel. You know I love a bezel action, and if my memory serves me well, 2 years ago, Kurt Santana twisted the C6600, giving it a good score of 22. And without going to Kurt again, I would give these watches the same score. I think the bezel is still as good as it was 2 years ago. It may even be just a bit better because there is absolutely no backplay whatsoever with any of them. Every bezel is 120 click. Every bezel is unidirectional. We've got a polished ceramic, a bead blasted stainless steel, and a matte zirconium ceramic. And you know what? With all three, you get exactly the same bezel action. These are fantastic. Have a listen. Oh, mama. Another one. And even the bronze. It sounds like it could come from the same watch.
Bravo on that, Christopher Ward. Bravo.
Now, when it comes to the bracelets of Christopher Ward, you are not shortchanged either. Now, I think 2 years ago, the C6600 had pins. The links in 2023 are screw-in, which is so much easier. Solid end links, solid links. It's quite a long clasp, but inside it is hiding that fantastic on-the-fly adjustment system. And I gotta say, that is really good. And just the opening and closing of the clasp with those two little nipples. That's rude, isn't it? It's just lovely. I don't think that's gonna get worn very quickly. Phenomenal bracelet. With Christopher Ward, everything about the watch, including the straps, are at a very high level and it's very hard to fault.
Get your watch out.
Right, let's look at the faces.
Dials time.
And these are beautiful things, aren't they? I definitely get the inspiration that they're going for a Omega ethos. Like I said at the start, these watches aren't shrinking violets. They're there to be shown off. And in order to do so, you've got to have a bit of bling. All of these dials have like a polished lacquer to them. The applied framed markers, polished to perfection. For me personally, I prefer the proportions and the balance to the 38 and the 40mm. I think there's a little bit more negative space on the 42. This dial is tremendously symmetrical. The date window is at 6 o'clock and the color of the date wheel matches the dial. How many times do we say that on a review? Get the date wheel to match the dial. If you got a brown dial, brown date wheel. This is not rocket science, but Christopher Ward know how to make a dial and a colored date wheel. What we have to talk about is that twin flag applied logo. It's so much bigger than the one on the C6600 2 years ago. I gotta say, my favorite dial of the three has to be this Atoll. Inspired by the seascapes of the Indian Ocean, this one's called White Shark, and I love how it goes from light to dark, almost like a fume style, but it works so well with the icy bead blasted bezel insert. To me, this is probably my favorite. All in all, these dials are absolutely fabulous. Maybe a little bit too blingy for my tastes, but very cool. So all three watches have the same loom on them. This Trident 300 Pro has a loomed bezel insert, loomed hour markers, loomed hands. Out of 10, let's see how this puppy glows. So yeah, very good. Just what you like to see in a dive watch. Not at the Seiko level, but the glow does last for a long time and the loom gets a thumbs up from me. In all three of these watches, we have a Sellita SW200-1, a high-grade Sellita. It's a 4 Hertz movement, pulsing away at 28,800 beats per hour, 38 hours of power reserve, 26 joules. In the Bronze Beast, well, this Sellita has been chronometer certified, meaning you are going to get no more than -4 to +6 seconds a day. With the regular Sellitas, you're looking at a +12. There's no surprise why so many brands use them. To operate the watches is very simple, particularly as you've got these fantastic big crowns. They've all got phenomenal pops to them when you unscrew them. Pull out to the first position and you can change the date. Pull out to the last position, all the hands stop. You have hacking, ladies and gentlemen. Screw it back in and away you go.
Hello.
On my 6.5-inch wrist, and these watches are showers. Obviously, I love the fit of the Blue 300 and the Atoll more than I do the 42, but with the 42 being on the strap, I can still pull it off. Every watch is pretty darn thin and hugs to your wrist. The way the lugs curve into my wrist in the sunlight, these watches stand out so much. If you can't tell the time on these, you would have to be certifiably blind. Still, if I was going to pick any one of these three, it would still be that Atoll one. So there you go. I've given you a deep dive into Christopher Ward dive watches there, and after everything I've seen and felt, are they a binner or a winner? 100% you cannot go wrong when it comes to Christopher Ward. This review today cements that fact to me. The case finishing, the designs, the colours, the attention to detail on the cases and the dials. They are built to look good, but also built to last forever. A quick mention of the price. The Trident 300 Pro with the bracelet is £915. The Atoll, which is on pre-order, is £760. And the Big Beastie Pro Bronze is £1,060. Now, if I was to compare the 300 Trident Pro to, let's say, my Willard SPB 153. When we talk about specs alone, there isn't even a fight. Christopher Ward wins hands down. The only thing that makes me choose a Seiko over Christopher Ward is history and heritage. And unfortunately for Christopher Ward, it's not something you can buy or manufacture. You've just got to keep going for another 60, 70 years. I love Christopher Ward watches. I don't own one. Why don't I own one? Really hard to say. That Atoll 300 is a watch I could be very tempted to buy. They're getting very close for me pulling the trigger. So here it is, my wife's first impressions of these Christopher Wards. I like the blue one the least. It's boring. I'm getting Indiana Jones vibes on the brown one, like a cup of hot chocolate that's been left out for 2 days. I weirdly prefer the orange and white one. I can see someone in jeans and trendy trainers rocking this. But what is the devil fork for doing on all of them? Mixed bag there, Christopher Ward. Just know that she's done a lot worse to brands that have been around a lot longer. Thank you so much for Christopher Ward sending these three into me. Check in the description below and check out their entire back catalogue. Guarantee there's a watch there you're gonna like. If you want a little bit more of the Mad Watch Collector, click here and join. Yeah! If you want some merch, everyone loves merch, get a new mug. Click there. But most importantly, if I've got you for a few more minutes, why don't you check this show out? Oh, this one is fabulous. One of my favourites, obviously. Go on, click it. Click it!